Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on pronouns. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade 8. And then we are going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of pronouns. And this is still a continuation of our previous lesson on pronouns. We said our chapter is pronouns, subject is English language arts, grade 8. And the lessons that we are focusing on today is compound subjects and objects with I and me, and compound subject and object with pronouns. All right. So when it comes to pronouns, right, when we use the pronouns I and we use the pronouns me, so the pronoun I and me, we have compound subjects firstly and objects with I and me. We're going to find out how we can use I and how we can use me. So I, the subject I or the pronoun subject I, we usually use at the beginning of a sentence, right? So I is a subject pronoun, and you can use it as a subject of a sentence. And usually that is at the beginning of the sentence. And that is I. So we have objects, we have subjects, and we have objects, right? So I is a subject pronoun, and we use it as the subject. Tell us about someone within a sentence or within a clause. And it tells us that the speaker is doing something. The speaker, the subject, is doing something. And we say that I is usually at the beginning of the sentence. And if we look at an example, right? It says, after finishing this experiment, I show my teacher the results. So who shows the teacher the results? I show the teacher the results, because remember we said that the subject, it tells us what the speaker is doing, right? Which means that I is the one that showed the teacher the results. So if we went to identify the subject, then I is the subject within that sentence. All right. And then we have, when it also comes to our subject pronoun, right? Or not even the subject, when it comes to our object pronoun, me is an object pronoun. So I is a subject pronoun, and it tells us about, who or what is doing something, the speaker is doing something. And then me is an object pronoun, and you use an object pronoun after an action verb. So an object pronoun is being used after an action verb. Or you can even use it after a preposition, like words like at, for, of, to, with. That is also how you can use it. All right. And if we look at an example, right, of this object pronoun with me, it says, after finishing the experiment, my teacher showed me, not my, but my teacher showed me the results. And me, which is our object pronoun, is after our action verb, which is showed. Comes after the action verb, which is showed. So it says, after finishing the experiment, my teacher showed me the results. And the word me, which is the object pronoun, comes after the action verb, which is showed. All right. And the object pronouns, right? When it comes to the object pronoun me, because remember, me is an object pronoun, I is a subject pronoun. So when it comes to the object pronoun me, the object pronoun me, we said, is used after an action verb. Or we can even say that the teacher showed the results to me, which means that now comes after a preposition, which is to. All right. So then also when it comes to pronouns, right? When a pronoun is connected to a noun with the word and, this is almost like saying it's compound, right? So when it is connected to a noun with the word and, it's like saying this and that, right? Like Rick and I, Rick and me, then it can be very hard to tell the pronoun is correct because now you don't know if it is a subject pronoun or if we can say it's an object pronoun. So, for example, if we say Rick and I discuss the results with the teacher, then look at the last word, right? Look at the sentence without the noun. Look at the sentence without the noun. Then it's like saying, I discussed the results with the teacher, which means that it is then a subject pronoun. All right. So I discussed the results with the teacher. So look at the word without the noun. Just look at the pronoun, whether you look at the subject pronoun or the object pronoun. Now, if we look at the next one, it says the teacher discussed the results with Rick and me. So if we were to remove the noun, then we would say the teacher discussed the results with me. And me is the object pronoun and it comes after a preposition. So it comes after a preposition. All right. So now we're going to A plus students.ca and we're going to look at compound subjects and objects with I and me, and we're going to look at compound subjects and objects with pronouns. All right, and we already went over what a subject pronoun and what an object pronoun is. We said a subject pronoun is I. I usually comes at the beginning of a sentence, and we can use I as the subject of the sentence or clause, and it tells us what the speaker is doing. And like we said, it is usually at the beginning of the sentence. And we said an object pronoun, right, is the word me, and we can use an object pronoun after an action verb, or we can use an object pronoun after a preposition. All right. So now we need to select the correct pronoun to complete the sentence. Marshall and want to study geology in college. Do we say Marshall and I, or do we say Marshall and me? Marshall and I or Marshall and me? Which one is correct? And if we were to choose the correct option, right, whether we are making mention of a subject pronoun or whether we are making mention of an object pronoun, and then we'll say Marshall and I want to study geology in college. So I, not me. Because remember, we said if you remove the noun, then either whatever that's left will tell you if it's a subject pronoun or if it is an object pronoun. All right, let's look at the next one. Ellie. Do we say Ellie and me, or do we say Ellie and I met at the dance academy when we were young? Ellie and me or Ellie and I? So Ellie and me or Ellie and I? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, then yes, we will say Ellie and I met at the dance academy when we were younger. So well done. I. That is a subject pronoun because remember we said if we were to remove the noun, then it will sound as it will be I met at the dance academy. So Ellie and I, we. So I say we met at the dance academy. All right, Mr. Kim will show my mom and do we say Mr. Kent will show my mom and me how to make yogurt, or will show my mom and I how to make yogurt? So we say my mom and me or my mom and I how to make yogurt. Mr. Kim will show my mom and me how to make yogurt, or my mom and I how to make yogurt. And if we were to choose the correct option, right, then we will say Mr. Kim will show my mom and me how to make yogurt. And me. All right. So now we're going to our test, right, where we are going to choose the compound subject and object with I and me. All right. It says Alec and. Do you say Alec and I or Alec and me agree that the black dress looks best on you? Alec and I or Alec and me? Which one is correct? Alec and I or Alec and me? Alec and I or Alec and me? Option one or option two? And if we were to choose the correct option, then we will say Alec and I agree that the black dress looks best on you. Alec and I. The next one says Mr. Kim will show my mom and I, or will show my mom and me how to make yogurt. Which one is correct? So Mr. Kim will show my mom and I, option one, or will show my mom and me, option two, how to make yogurt. And if we were to choose the correct option, they will go with me. Mr. Kim will show my mom and me how to make yogurt. Yes, well done. Option two is correct. Well done. It says the stray cat fled from Dale and I, or from Dale and me. Which one is correct? So the stray cat fled from Dale and me, or Dale and I. Which one is correct? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, okay, I'm going to choose option one, right? But then I will tell you what the exact answer is. So before I choose the answer, right, it says the stray cat. Remember, we said a subject pronoun we use usually at the beginning of a sentence. It tells us what the subject is doing. Then we have an object pronoun, right? And we say that the object pronoun comes after an action verb as well as after a preposition, right? And the action verb, or the verb here, is the stray cat fled, is the verb. From is our preposition. So we can say the stray cat fled from me. If we were to remove the word Dale, then we would say it would fled from me, right? But well done for trying. The next one says reporters seemed to descend on my lawyer, and do we say my lawyer and me from all directions, or do we say my lawyer and I from all directions? And if we were to choose the correct option, it says reporters seem to descend on my lawyer. Do we say and me, or do we say my lawyer and I? All right, and if we were to choose the correct option, okay, let's choose option one. Well done. On is our preposition. Well done. On me. Well done. Marshall and me or Marshall and I want to study geology in college. Which one is correct? Marshall and me or Marshall and I want to study geology in college. And if we were to choose the correct option, we will say Marshall and I want to study geology in college. Well done. That is our subject pronoun. Well done. The actress gave my best friend and I her autograph, or the actress gave my best friend and me her autograph. Which one is correct? And if we were to choose the correct option, then yes, well done. Option two is correct. She gave my friend and me. Ellie and do we say Ellie and I met at the dance academy when we were younger? Or do we say Ellie and me met at the dance academy when we were younger? Ellie and I or Ellie and me? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, we would say Ellie and, should we say Ellie and I, option one, or Ellie and me met at the dance academy when we were younger. Which one is correct? And if we were to choose the correct option, Ellie and I met at the dance academy. So well done. All right, so now we're going on to the next one, which is compound subjects and objects with pronouns, right? And we can use a subject pronoun as the subject of a sentence or clause. It tells us who is doing something, and it's usually at the beginning of a sentence, right? And the subject pronouns are like our subject pronouns, right? Are words like I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. Those are our subject pronouns. And if we look at an example, it says, after finishing the experiment, I showed my teacher the results. So I is our subject pronoun within that sentence. That is the subject of the sentence. I. And then you can use an object pronoun after an action verb, or we can even use it after a preposition, right? The prepositions are words like at, for, of, on, to, with. And the object pronoun are me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. Those are our object pronouns. And remember, we said that object pronouns either comes after an action verb or after a preposition. All right. So we're going to look at sentences with subject as well as object pronouns. Before we go on to our test, we need to select the correct pronoun to complete the sentence. It says the pilot invited, we need to choose the word and his brother into the cockpit before takeoff. And remember, we said when it comes to subject pronouns, right? Then subject pronouns are words like I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. Those are our subject pronouns. And our subject pronouns is we'll usually find at the beginning of the sentence. Tells us about the subject of the sentence. All right. It says we need to select the correct pronoun to complete the sentence. Please don't interfere with them and their private affairs, or please don't interfere with they and their private affairs. Which one is correct? Them or their? And if we were to choose our correct option, then we'll say, please don't interfere with them and their private affairs. All right, them, option one. It's like saying, mind your business. The next one says, Lila greatly admires. Do we say him and the other volunteers, or Lila greatly admires he and the other volunteers? And if we were to choose our correct option, we'll say Lila greatly admires him and the other volunteers. All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, it says you may not remember that incident, but your father and me do. Or do we say you may not remember that incident, but your father and I do? Which one is correct? So you may not remember that incident, but your father and I do, or we say your father and me do. And if we were to choose the correct option, your father and I do, meaning that your father and I remember what happened. All right, the next one says, as Sophia slept, Mr. Stephenson wrapped a blanket around she and her doll, or around her and a doll. She, option one, and a doll, or her, option two, and her doll. Which one is correct? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, we would say, as Sophia slept, Mr. Stephenson wrapped a blanket around her and her doll. Her and her doll. Yes, well done. Her and her doll. Let's do the last one. It says, Steve and I picked up a dozen pizzas. Which do we say? Which us and our guests then quickly devoured, or which we and our guests then quickly devoured? Do we say us and our guests, or we and our guests devoured? And if we were to choose the correct option, we would say Steve and I picked up a dozen pizzas, which, oh, this is now confusing. I don't know if it's now which we and our guests then quickly devoured, which us and our guest. Let's say which we. We is correct. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on pronouns. We said our subject pronouns I usually comes at the beginning of a sentence. It tells us what the subject is doing. And then our object pronoun me comes after an action verb or after a preposition within a sentence. All right, so this is the end of our lesson, grade 8 on pronouns. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I'll see you tomorrow or next time. Goodbye.